I'm thinking about getting married.
I thought he had just come home after a long time, but then he said he had something important to tell me. I looked intently at my son, who sat up straight with seriousness on his face. Oh, really? The first words out of my mouth were rather mundane. Congratulations. Will you introduce her to me soon? I asked, trying to wear the biggest smile. Yet Kevin still seemed tense. Is there something he's worried about? Kevin, after looking down for a moment, lifted his eyes and faced me firmly.
The woman I'm seeing is divorced, and she has a child who just turned 3 this year.
His words hit me like a punch to the gut. And here I was, just moments ago, letting the joy sink deep into my heart. So, she's a single mom.
Yeah?
Kevin responded with a stern voice, which told me that he probably imagined my reaction. You do realize what it means to marry a single mom, right? Kevin bit his lip and nodded.
I know. I want to take care of both her and her child.
Hearing the determination in Kevin's voice, I wanted to believe him. But at the same time, memories of a crying young Kevin and angry shouts flashed back. Can you really love the child as your own? This isn't something you can just decide on a whim, you know.
I'll make them both happy. I promise.
I need a moment to think.
Mom, please meet her first.
We'll talk later. Even though I didn't doubt Kevin's determination, I couldn't help but feel conflicted. I quickly left the living room, as if escaping. I entered my bedroom, sat on my bed without turning on the lights.
It's so damn loud.
A voice I thought I had forgotten echoed vividly in my mind. It was 25 years ago. I, too, raised Kevin as a single mother. I divorced after discovering my husband's affair and eventually met a seemingly kind man. He seemed like the one. With that thought, I married for the second time. However, once we lived together, he couldn't tolerate Kevin's crying and started to get angry every time Kevin cried. Stop it. Kevin's not even 2 years old.
Well, do something about it. You're his mother, aren't you?
Such fights became frequent. One day, I saw him about to strike Kevin. My baby is getting hurt. In a panic, I shielded Kevin and received the blow to my face. How could you do that?
I was just trying to discipline him.
You don't hit a child.
He's not my kid.
Those words felt like a bucket of cold water was thrown on me. I felt a chill and a rush of anger. I can't stay here. Thinking this, I quickly packed up, grabbed Kevin, and left in a hurry. My parents passed away when I was young, so I raised Kevin on my own from then on. I worked during the day and picked him up from the daycare on my way back to our small apartment. Day in and day out, I was exhausted. The voice of that man who tried to hurt Kevin and Kevin's words from earlier echoed in my head. I don't think Kevin would become like that, but I truly know the hardships of raising a child that isn't your own. Suddenly, warmth returned to my hand. The warmth of young Kevin's hand. Even when I was dead tired after work, holding hands with Kevin would slightly ease my feelings. His soft, slightly damp hand would grip mine tightly. Remembering that, my emotions gradually calmed down. I let out a sigh, stood up, and opened the dresser. Upon doing so, something inside the dresser made a rustling sound. It was a bell. A bell combined with a hairband designed to be wrapped around the wrist. It's slightly misshapen, with the knot tying it to the hairband twisted in a peculiar way. Kevin used to cry a lot. He'd cry if he fell, cry if I didn't give him attention. He just cried a lot. When doing chores, my hands would be full. I tried various ways to soothe Kevin during these moments. The most effective was the sound of the bell. Kevin seemed to love the bell's sound, often asking me to ring it. But while I was busy, I couldn't always attend to him. So I tied the bell to a red ribbon and always wrapped it around my wrist. With that, every time I moved while doing chores, the bell would jingle. Kevin would watch and break into a joyful smile. This bell was also popular among neighborhood kids playing in the park. Children around kindergarten age would often play with us in the park, and they'd play with Kevin. Among them was a girl. She seemed to like taking care of others, especially Kevin. Once she noticed Kevin's fondness for the bell, she made one similar to mine and proudly played with Kevin using it. This hairband with a bell was a gift from her. Raising Kevin on my own was tough, but there were such peaceful times. How much I was saved by those moments. I wanted to take Kevin to many places. I wanted to buy him toys and play with him a lot. I still think it would have been nice if I could have done more for him. As Kevin grew, I wondered about his future wife, his children. I had such farts. But I never imagined he'd marry a single mother. I just want Kevin to be happy. I'm not saying that marrying a single mom would make him unhappy. There must be many who have kids, remarry, and live happily. Still, I can't help but recall. The man who yelled, "He's not my son." I don't think Kevin would become like that. But he will likely face difficulties. He would be raising a child that isn't biologically his, after all. I closed the dresser and sighed again.
Hey, I really want to talk.
From then on, Kevin visited the house every day. There were days when we only talked at the front door. Each time, Kevin would say the same thing.
Mom, I want you to meet her. Meet Jessica, and little Sarah too. Maybe you'll change your mind.
After such visits went on for over a week, I finally gave in. All right, I'll meet her. I thought it wasn't right to keep rejecting without even meeting her. Who is this woman Kevin wants to marry? It might be good to meet her just once. Kevin's face relaxed as if a weight had been lifted from his heart. And then, on the day of the visit, I found myself at Jessica's house. Kevin rang the doorbell. There was the sound of a latch unlocking.
Hello, welcome.
The door opened to reveal a neatly dressed woman. Her hair was tied up, reaching her shoulders.
Nice to meet you. You must be Kevin's mom. Thanks for coming. Please, come in.
The living room we were led to was neatly arranged. However, there were children's toys around, showing signs of a lived-in, homely environment.
I heard you were coming, Mrs. Johnson, so I tidied up a bit. But I have a lot of things.
Jessica served us tea and took a seat herself.
Mom, this is my girlfriend, Jessica.
Nice to meet you. My name is Jessica Roberts. My daughter, Sarah, is asleep in the next room.
Nice to meet you. I'm Mary Johnson. Thank you for taking care of my son, Kevin. Jessica smiled warmly. She seems to have a good nature.
I've been thinking, I'd like to marry Kevin.
After a brief exchange of greetings, Jessica suddenly broached the topic.
I've been divorced once, and I have my daughter. But with Kevin, I felt like I could remarry.
Hearing Jessica's words, I clenched my teeth. Yes, I felt the same when I considered remarrying for the second time.
I work, and usually, I leave Sarah at the daycare or with my parents. I work part-time because of my child, but I earn a decent salary. I have no intention of being a burden to Kevin, financially or in raising our child.
Contrary to her gentle appearance, Jessica seemed like a straightforward person. She understood my skepticism about Kevin's engagement to a single mother. Still, she faced me without hesitation. While meeting her gaze, I let out a small sigh. I understood that she had firm intentions. Yet, I couldn't simply nod in agreement and found myself looking downward. I understand how you feel, but... Just then, a loud cry echoed throughout the room. For a moment, I felt as if I had been transported back in time. It reminded me of the times when Kevin would cry out suddenly, and I would rush to comfort him.
Oh, I'm sorry. It seems she's woken up. She tends to cry if she doesn't find anyone around upon waking.
Jessica quickly stood up and headed for the adjacent room. As the door opened, the cries became clearer.
Mommy, Mommy,
Yes, honey, I'm sorry. Did you wake up?
where's Lean? Where's Lean?
Lin, you had it before you went to sleep, didn't you?
Where is it?
Sarah seemed to be fussing about something, her annoyed voice echoing. Just then, Kevin exclaimed, "Oh." He then opened a shelf and took something out. At that moment, a gentle chime sounded. Upon hearing the sound, Sarah's voice instantly brightened. Drawn to the soft jingling, I instinctively stood up and stepped beyond the door. Kevin was waving a small object in front of Sarah's eyes. Sarah's little hand chased after the object, making the repetitive jingling sound. Jessica was squinting as she watched the two. "That bell." When I murmured in surprise, both Jessica and Kevin turned their gazes to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. My daughter was being noisy.
"Ms. Roberts, that bell."
Huh?
Jessica looked at the object I was staring at. It was the bell Kevin was shaking, tied with a ribbon that you could slip your hand through. The ribbon, which must have once been red, had faded to white and brown.
A long time ago, I loved that bell. When I was in kindergarten, a little boy often came with his mother. The boy would fuss if he didn't hear the bell, so his mother always carried it, and I got that bell. My child also fusses a lot, but I remembered this bell during those tough times. When I rang it, she was delighted.
Oh, I've never heard that story before. So, that's why it's faded like this?
Didn't I tell you?
Nope, first time I'm hearing it.
As I absent-mindedly listened to Jessica and Kevin's conversation, I intently stared at the bell in Kevin's hand.
Auntie, this. I made this.
It was a distant memory. A young girl, still speaking with a childlike tone, had given me that bell. In front of teary-eyed Kevin, she happily rang the bell. The moment the sound echoed, Kevin's eyes sparkled and he reached for the bell. Could such a coincidence be real? "That bell, I made it." I blurted out, and Jessica looked up with a tilted head.
Huh?
Seeing that she understood what I meant, Jessica's eyes widened in shock.
Wait, what? What are you talking about?
Kevin, lost for words, looked back and forth between me and Jessica. "Kevin, when you were around 2 or 3, it seems Jessica used to play with you."
Really?
"That bell is the one I made for Kevin, and the one we have at home is the one Jessica made for Kevin." Stunned, Kevin slowly blinked and looked at the bell he was holding. The small bell attached to a faded, worn-out ribbon. That day, Jessica had combined her hair tie and a toy bell to make one for Kevin. For some reason, Kevin really liked it, and by evening, he didn't want to let go of it. Since he was adamant about taking it home, I reluctantly gave Jessica the bell I had made for Kevin in exchange. At first, Jessica said, "It's okay, you can have it," but I felt bad just receiving, so I gave her my bell with the ribbon. I thought he might really like this bell, so I wanted to give it as a thank you, you know. When I said that, Jessica had shyly smiled. I clearly remembered. That shy smiling girl. Indeed, Jessica resembled that girl.
So things like that really happen, huh?
Kevin murmured in astonishment.
We've met before, haven't we?
Jessica chuckled amusingly, a light laugh escaping her lips. It might be a stretch, but if there's such a thing as destiny, this could be it.
Where's the jingle?
Perhaps missing the sound of the bell, little Sarah stretched out her hand eagerly. In a rush, Kevin began ringing the bell. Sarah's mood brightened instantly, her laughter reminiscent of a jingling bell.
Seriously, you're always in such high spirits.
Jessica commented with a laugh, as Kevin brushed back some hair that was stuck to Sarah's forehead.
Sarah's been sweating. Maybe she'd better change clothes.
Maybe. Sarah, which outfit do you want?
Mousy one.
Mousy, which one's that?
Probably the one with the character. I'll go get it.
Watching the two of them interact, I bit my lower lip. How wonderful, I thought. To work together like that, raising a child as a team. How great it would have been if I could have done that with Kevin. Amidst their shared laughter, Sarah was also smiling. The epitome of a cheerful, happy family. It was a sight I'd longed for and never managed to have. Could these two achieve it? If there truly is such a thing as fate, maybe I should start believing in it. In Kevin, and in the woman Kevin chose. "Kevin, Ms. Roberts." I called out, and the two turned to look at me. "I approve of your marriage." Their eyes widened, and then they gifted me with their most radiant smiles. The wedding took place a few months later. It wasn't a grand ceremony, as both Kevin and Jessica had mentioned not wanting anything extravagant. They just dressed up and took family pictures. Before the photo shoot, when Kevin emerged dressed in a tuxedo, I couldn't help but chuckle. "What's so funny? Sorry if I don't look good," he said, a bit irritated, but it wasn't that he looked bad. He looked great. It just felt a bit odd seeing him like that. Jessica was stunning in a pristine white dress, crowned with flowers. Jessica's parents held Sarah. He was dolled up in a pink dress.
Now everyone please gather for the family photo.
The photographer called out. Kevin gestured for me to join.
Mom, over here.
As I approached, I turned to Jessica. "Jessica, here." I took Jessica's hand, gently enclosing her fist with my own. With wide eyes, she opened her hand to see what I had placed there. Inside was a hair tie with a bell, handmade by Jessica. Seeing the jingling bell, Jessica let out a shy smile.
Jingle, jingle.
Sarah cheered in delight at the sound of the bell.
Granny, jingle.
Overwhelmed by emotion, I caressed her head.
All right, everyone, look this way.
Called by the photographer, everyone faced the camera. I had a strong feeling that from this point onwards, they'd find even more